A degree can make you poorer. That sounds backwards, because the promise was always simple. Borrow now, study hard, earn more later. But a new federal rule, active from July 1st, is testing that promise with cold numbers. For every degree program, officials will check what graduates earn 4 years after finishing. Then they compare that with what an average high school graduate earns in the same state. If the degree holder earns less, the program is flagged. Fail 2 out of 3 years, and that program can lose access to federal student loans. Not the whole university, the specific program. Only 2% to 6% of programs are expected to be hit. That still means about 800 programs and roughly 40,000 graduates a year. Now the question gets dangerous. What if the dream was debt? Not just education, status, safety, identity, proof that your life was moving forward. Parents repeated it. Schools reinforced it. Employers rewarded it. Teenagers absorbed it before they understood compound interest. Then tuition climbed, loans expanded, campuses grew, administrations swelled. The bill became easier to sign and harder to escape. The student took the debt. The taxpayer carried part of the risk. The university collected money up front, even if the degree failed in the job market. That was the contradiction. Most products must prove value before people keep buying them. A broken car gets returned. A bad investment gets questioned. A bad restaurant loses customers by Friday night. But a weak degree could keep selling itself because hope covered the math. Prestige became a payment plan. And for years, the system had a strange protection built into it. The school got paid before the outcome was known. The lender expected repayment no matter what happened. The family carried the anxiety. The graduate carried the monthly bill. The risk moved downward. This new rule does not ban subjects. It does not say art is bad, or language is useless, or public service has no value. It asks one brutal question families avoided for years. If a school charges a life-changing price, should it prove the program changes lives? The rule focuses on outcomes, not brochures, not glossy campus photos, not inspirational speeches, not the sentence every nervous parent wants to hear, "It will all be worth it." It looks at graduates 4 years after completion. That timing matters. 4 years is long enough to leave the honeymoon stage. It is also early enough to show whether the degree helped launch a career. Then comes the comparison. The graduate's earnings are measured against the average earnings of a high school graduate in that state. If the college graduate earns less, the program fails that year's test. One bad year is not fatal. The trigger is failing 2 out of 3 years. That means a program needs a pattern of underperformance before losing access to federal student loans. Not a bad semester, a pattern. At first, the number looks small. Only 2% to 6% of programs may lose eligibility. But the human scale is not small. Around 800 programs were flagged as potentially vulnerable. Those programs graduate about 40,000 students each year. That is 40,000 people entering adulthood with a credential that may not beat a high school income benchmark. Look at that again. They did what they were told. They enrolled, they studied, they borrowed, they finished. And 4 years later, the numbers may still say the degree did not win. Some fields appear more exposed than others. Recent data points to foreign language, social sciences, and performing arts as weak areas for early career earnings. Performing arts faces an even harder problem because the weakness can continue into mid-career and later life. This does not mean art is worthless. It means debt changes the equation. A passion that costs little can be freedom. A passion financed with massive loans can become a cage. Same dream, different price tag. That is where saving starts to feel impossible. Many people do not begin adulthood broke because they bought too much coffee. They start behind because one emotional decision became a monthly payment. And that payment does not care how young they were when they signed. It does not care that the campus tour was beautiful. It does not care that everyone said college was the safe path. Debt is not sentimental. The hardest part is that the decision rarely feels emotional at the time. It feels responsible. A teenager sees a campus, a logo, a ranking, and a future version of themselves walking confidently through life. The loan papers feel like a bridge. But a bridge to what? One person faced that exact choice with Columbia Journalism School. The price required about $80,000 in loans. What do entry-level journalism jobs actually pay? The numbers did not work, so the offer was declined. Instead, the skills were built through restaurant work and internships. At the time, people called it a mistake. The brand name felt too powerful to reject. An elite credential seemed automatically worth the cost. It was not automatic. That is the trap. Expensive education often uses social pressure as part of the sale. Nobody wants to look small. Nobody wants to disappoint family. Nobody wants to admit they are choosing the cheaper road because the expensive road scares them. Shame sells debt. And the bigger the brand, the harder it can be to say no. Because saying no to an expensive school can feel like saying no to your future. It can feel like rejecting the version of yourself other people are already congratulating. But sometimes the smartest financial decision feels embarrassing before it feels wise. The same pattern shows up in everyday spending. People overspend not only because they lack information. They overspend because money decisions carry emotion, belonging, pride, fear, envy, relief. A degree can become the largest emotional purchase of a young person's life. And unlike a shopping mistake, it cannot be returned after one bad weekend. There is no refund counter for regret. Supporters of the rule argue that colleges finally have skin in the game. If a program depends on federal loans, it should not produce graduates who earn less than people who skipped college entirely. That sentence stings because it breaks the myth. Education may be valuable, but not every price is justified by every outcome. That is the part nobody wanted to price. Critics see danger in the rule. They argue that government should not decide which degrees deserve funding. They also warn that some fields produce value beyond salary. Teachers, artists, researchers, community workers, public servants. Their impact may not show up in early earnings alone. That concern is real. Money is not the only measure of a life, but debt is measured in money every month. Lenders do not accept meaning as payment. Rent does not shrink because a subject was noble. Numbers still collect. That is the cruel tension at the center of the rule. A society needs people to do work that may not pay highly right away. But a borrower still has to survive the bill. A family may value education beyond income, but a loan servicer does not grade values. It drafts the account. Another criticism goes deeper. Some say government should not be in the student loan business at all. When loans become widely available, colleges can raise prices because students can borrow more. More money enters the system. Tuition climbs, facilities expand, staff layers multiply. The buyer feels helped at first, then trapped later. That is how affordability becomes inflation. The promise was access. The result, for many people, became a bigger invoice. And once the invoice exists, the story changes. The graduate no longer asks only, what kind of life do I want? They ask, what kind of life can I afford after this payment? That is not just personal finance. That is life design under pressure. The stories from working adults reveal the same lesson. A political science graduate from the University of Connecticut said much of the real job skill came from doing the work. The first campaign job in 2010 paid $2,000 a month. It helped defeat an 18-year incumbent, but the bigger value came after. That first job led to the next job, then the next job, then a career. The degree helped start conversations. The experience built the income. The paper opened the door. The work kept it open. A Harvard psychology graduate told a different version of the same truth. The famous school name did not guarantee financial ease. After choosing comedy, the income path became uncertain. A prestigious degree could not erase the risk of an unstable profession. That is not failure. That is clarity. The credential is not the career. The school is not the skill. The major is not the market. A degree can open a door, but it cannot force the world to pay behind that door. And that is the lesson hiding underneath the policy fight. The real danger is not college itself. The danger is treating college like a magic word, as if the name on the sweatshirt can overpower the labor market, as if desire can cancel interest rates, as if a teenager can borrow tens of thousands of dollars and figure out the math later. Later is where the bill lives. This matters for saving because debt steals future choices. Every loan payment is money that cannot build an emergency fund. It cannot be invested. It cannot cover rent, therapy, travel, family, or a career pivot. The cost is not just interest. The cost is flexibility, and flexibility is what young people need most. They need room to fail cheaply, room to change direction, room to take a low-paying starter job that leads somewhere better, room to leave a bad city, a bad boss, or a bad plan. Debt narrows that room. It can turn every decision into a calculation. Can I afford to move? Can I afford to quit? Can I afford to take the internship? Can I afford to start over? That is how a degree meant to create freedom can become the reason freedom is delayed. The lesson is not never go to college. That is too simple. College can still be an investment. It can still be a calling. It can still be the right path for the right person at the right price. But the price matters. The major matters. The job path matters. The debt matters before it becomes normal. Before borrowing, compare the program cost with realistic early earnings. Ask what graduates make 4 years later. Ask whether internships, apprenticeships, community college, cheaper universities, or direct work experience can reach the same goal. Do the math before the emotion gets loud, and ask the painful question first. Would I still choose this if nobody admired the school name? That question separates education from ego. It also protects savings before they ever exist. Many people struggle to save because past choices already claimed their future income. The paycheck arrives, and old decisions take their cut. The new rule may affect only 2% to 6% of programs, but it exposes a much larger truth. A degree can be an investment, a luxury, a calling, or a financial mistake. The difference is the math you do before signing. The most expensive mistake is not choosing the wrong dream. It is borrowing for a dream that was never priced honestly. Because when hope becomes collateral, the future gets repossessed first.